To some artists, there's no greater challenge than capturing the behavior and properties of fabrics, cloth, or clothing. To many artists, it is as chaotic and elegant as the sea. This will be the first of many water analogies in this video. Due to this challenge, you can imagine trying to teach and explain this vast and unforgiving topic will no doubt be a challenge in and of itself, and trying to make a cohesive tutorial that is both fast and informative might border on the impossible. But here we are. To begin, you must understand that any attempts to explain the how to draw fabric will be next to useless until you know the why. Not only because we can't just draw everyone naked all the time, or at least not all of us can, but why it moves the way it does, why it folds, why it pinches and ripples. The best way to imagine cloth is to picture it as a liquid that's constrained by some unspeakable cosmic force of nature. Like a liquid, it can shape to whatever it rests on. It waves and ripples in the wind like the surface of a pond. When drawing it on an object or person, a good starting point is just to imagine the clothing as a liquid that is frozen in time right as it began to take shape. The way we show how the cloth moves are with the values, shadows, and highlights. Now, the key factor of drawing fabric are pinches, folds, wrinkles, and where the edges are. A pinch is the point where the fabric is held. The rest of the cloth will fall around the pinch, and you can illustrate this generally as a cone of shadow with the point starting by the pinch. A fold is where the fabric, and this will come as a shock to no one, folds. These are usually illustrated with lines of shadow. It's almost best to imagine these as new planes or altogether separate objects from one another, if it helps. Wrinkles are a mix between folds and pinches. A sleeve will wrinkle by the elbow, trousers will wrinkle by the knee. If the clothing bends in a direction, the inside of that direction will begin to wrinkle. Depending on how bent the clothing is, the wrinkle will either be like pinches facing each other, or a series of small folds. When drawing wrinkles from the side, imagine they're a series of pinches with their corners all pointing toward the bend. And the edges are like if you drew the fabric doing its thing, then dissected it to look inside. You'll see the folds and ripples and pinches as a line following how the cloth is moving, as if someone tried to see if it was cake. Frankly, it's a huge topic that you'll have to practice with a lot, but there's your starting point. Now let's actually draw the stuff. Before we begin, there are two things to note. 1. To get good fast, like really fast, just look up on Google for images of people wearing different kinds of clothes. Pull it up and try to draw the clothing next to it while thinking why they're pinching and folding in certain places. Do that 40 times and you'll instantly be better than almost everybody else. No, I'm not kidding. Most artists are amateurs who don't want to put in the work or know where to learn the steps to put in the work. But not you. You came here to learn how to draw fabric and you're not messing around. 2, I'll be doing this in Photoshop, but I'm not here to teach you Photoshop. This method works in every digital art program where you can select things and draw with a soft brush. Clip Studio, Krita, Procreate, etc. They all have ways to do this, so if you're not using Photoshop, you'll be fine. So now let's begin. This will be for the most basic skill set leading to final completion. Chances are you've already drawn some cloth before and are just coming here to learn the next step, which, good, but watch the full process. It'll be fast and you'll know when I'm doing something you haven't learned yet. Start by thinking of what the cloth is doing. Is it a banner hanging on a wall? Is it a flag flying in the breeze? Is it a sleeve worn by your OC who likes the finer things in life but isn't afraid to get their hands dirty? Once you've got that figured out, draw it. Congratulations. The actual next step is to find out how thick the cloth is. I'm not joking this time. Thick, heavy cloth will ripple and wrinkle far less than thin, lighter cloth. Once you figure that out, you're ready to draw. Congratulations. Start by loosely sketching in the shape you want. For example, a sleeve will be a tube on the outside of the arm. Now find all the spots where the cloth is being held up, pushed, or pulled. These are called points of contact. Connect the dots. These points will flow the direction of your folds. If one of your points is a shoulder, for example, that will form pinches leading out from it. The tighter the pull between the points, the longer the pinch will be. If a point is a bend, like an elbow, for example, that will form wrinkles or folds. Once you've got that sketched up, now comes the juicy part, and here's where most of you who are only listening to the video will want to pay attention. We're going to get our lasso tool, or selection tool depending on the program, and make a selection around the piece of cloth. Then on a new layer, we'll fill it in with either a base color or base value. Next, we'll make a new layer above the base layer and make it a clipping mask. This makes it so anything we draw will only show up above the base layer. Get a soft brush, any soft brush. Every program has a basic round soft brush, trust me. I don't know the names of all of them because sometimes they have strange names, but anybody in the comment section, if you have any questions of like, what, oh man, what's a soft brush and Krita or whatever, just look down there and someone's probably going to help. I know y'all are super helpful, so thank you so much. Anyway, now with a darker shade, begin to paint in the shadows. We'll be changing the size of our brush a lot, so keep your fingers ready to hit those bracket keys. For the pinches, get your brush small, and start where the pinch is smallest and start brushing toward the big end. Make your brush bigger the farther from the pinch you get. If two pinches end up meeting, the same rule applies. Shrink your brush the closer to a pinch it gets. To paint fabric is truly an art of mastering subtlety. We'll be utilizing the color picker or eyedropper tool a lot to grab shades and blend them together. When painting in Photoshop, holding the Alt or Option key will bring up your eyedropper. Simply click the color you want and keep painting. Pushing values and colors in and out of one another make the smoothest transitions. Be sure not to make the shadows too dark. That's often one of the biggest hurdles new artists face when dealing with subtlety. Any slight change from light to dark or one color to the next is easily picked up by the power of the human eye. Just keep in mind where the light is coming from and if you need any bounce light, and you'll do just fine. The bigger you make the soft brush, the smoother everything will look. Oftentimes newer artists like to zoom in, but you'll notice I haven't zoomed in at all. Dang, that's crazy. I'm not saying you can't zoom in, by the way. I just enjoy reminding artists not to miss the forest for the trees. Meaning if you zoom in, you tend to focus on the small section you're working on, and it's much harder to see the full piece and how it's all coming together. Speaking of coming together, congratulations. Many of you might still be lost, and as frustrating as it might be to hear, that's understandable. Remember how I said to draw over 40 different pieces of cloth from Google image searches? Yeah, this is going to take a while and a fair bit of practice to fully grasp, but I believe in you. You made it to the end of this video, and you probably thought to yourself, dang, I should try that a few times, and when dealing with the vast and frankly intimidating topic of fabric, I'll take it. Come back to this video every time you need a quick refresher on things to keep in mind while drawing cloth, and be sure to tell your friends, lest they be left in the dark and suffer needlessly. Do you want to know how to paint wood, stone, steel, or flesh? I have by now a relatively large series of free tutorials going over how to paint various things. I believe education should only cost time, so for those who've spent theirs with me, I thank you deeply. If you'd like to support me over on Patreon, like these fun individuals, you may do so through the link down below or for free by leaving a comment. It helps push the video to more people, so tell me down below the next tutorial you'd like to see. Bye bye for now, and have a good one.